extremely going.
Spicy one.
Fire's going across.
When we woke up, right, taking some look here.
This guy is a tiny little...
So I'm going to film this now because I just realised that I didn't actually film this while we were on our way here. So, well, today we're going to go look for the reptiles in the southern parts of the Brigalow Belt. The Brigalow Belt goes all the way from the northern parts of New South Wales, reaching up through Queensland. It doesn't go all the way to the top of Queensland. It eventually fades off and becomes your black soil and separates into the other sort of habitats you get up there. But right now we are in the Brigalow habitat. I forgot to record this intro yesterday, so I'm recording it now. Obviously, what was the herping last night, or the looking that we did for reptiles last night. But for the sake of this, I'm just going to say for tonight. Now tonight we're going to end up getting there at around 8:30, 9. So we're going to get there at dark and start road cruising. Fairly cold tonight. It's not really one of those warm sort of 35 degree days that you can see out here where it gets really hot at night. So we're just going to have to see what we get. Hopefully we get lucky. There are a couple snakes that are known here to come out in the cold, so we'll end up seeing what we get. Obviously I know what we're going to get, but you don't know. Now, what we're going to look at is after this and after today, we're going to head up and keep going further and further into the outback.
Yeah, we started cruising, and not long into the night, just after it hit darkfall, we ended up finding our first, well, not reptile, but amphibian of the night, and it was one of my main amphibian targets for the trip. First animal, look at him go, look at him go, hey, look at that thing, look how we're going. First herp amphibian of the night, whatever you like to call it. Got this lovely little crucifix frog. He's an absolute stunner. You can see the gorgeous coloration on him. He's a bit covered in dirt. Looks like he's just woken up from a long nap. But these things are genuinely tiny. Only the size of a little golf ball. This thing is absolutely minuscule. I'm surprised Dylan was able to spot it just off the side of the road, and he nearly tried to hop away from us before we could jump out and see him. But an absolutely phenomenal little frog. All right. First actual reptile of the night. This is tiny little eastern spiny-tailed gecko. Have a look at him. Isn't he just amazing? Now, being part of the gecko family, typically you're looking at them being nocturnal, and obviously they get their name from those tiny little spines all across their tail, from their abdomen to their tail, and they actually have the ability to sort of shoot out this small little very sticky substance, which is to deter predators. One of the biggest predators out here are actually your Burton's legless lizards, who are known as reptile eaters. Even though they are reptiles themselves and little lizards themselves, they will eat, especially these strophs and these spiny-tailed geckos. They're absolutely amazing little critters though. Have a go at him. Have a go at the colours on him too. His gorgeous eyes. He just got smacked in the face by a poor little beetle. But I reckon it's time we move him off the road. See if he wants to come with us. Probably not. That's okay. Not exactly a herp or a reptile we're looking for, but and this lovely little guy just wandering up the road. Luckily he was off the road by the time we got here, but didn't even need to move him. This is a classic defense display for the Echidna. You've got all these little spines on them. First thing they're going to do when somebody tries to put their paw on them or anything like that, they're going to push their bodies back to try and spike their spines into any sort of predators trying to dig at them and trying to bury them out. But you can even see over here, he's digging himself into the ground. He'll keep digging himself until obviously that predator goes away, because they're not going to be able to eat him with these sharp spines going everywhere. So they dig themselves with their back feet deeper and deeper into the ground, trying to bury themselves so no predators can flip them over, because obviously their bellies and their faces are very soft, so they try to stop any predators from possibly flipping them over. So this is how they defend themselves. They're amazing little critters, and they're one of the only monotremes on the planet. They're one of 3, along with your platypus and your long-beaked, along with your platypus, your short-beaked echidna, and your long-beaked echidna. So they're amazing animals. Now, after we'd been cruising for a couple of hours now, only having gotten a couple of frogs and a couple of geckos, we ended up finding our first snake for the night. Now, it was a snake we've seen before, but still a good sight nonetheless. Awesome, first alive snake of the night. It's a lovely little bandy. Now you can get them all throughout the southern parts of the Brigalow and going up a bit further, but you can get them down at home where we're from. Obviously, this is a fairly small sort of specimen right here. Very, very small. They are elapid families, but no, they're part of the elapid family, but they're not as venomous as other elapid members. because they're only feeding on other reptiles like your blind snakes, so they don't need very toxic venom, nor do they need very big fangs. As you can see how tiny he is, you can't imagine he's got very large fangs with his head that size. But they are amazing, amazing snakes, and I'm not going to complain. First a live snake of the night. Unfortunately, we did get a hit Murray Darling and a hit grey snake, so that was quite unfortunate, but it's good to see an alive snake for the first one. Good spotting to Dylan. He managed to just get this one in the middle of the road and ran out and grabbed it before a car could come and hit him. One of the first alive snakes of the night, and we got this lovely little Deviz, or the mud adder. Now you can see he's not a very long snake, but he's actually an adult here. So the reason obviously they've got the name adder is because they're very short, stocky snakes and fairly fast when they need to be. Even at this size, I'm not going to put my hand too close, because even though he's this small, just for a little size comparison, he still packs a pretty deadly punch. Now, there have been people bitten by these things. No one has died to my knowledge, but there has been people bitten by these things, and the symptoms and side effects are quite bad and not something you want to have to deal with. But it's great to see some alive snakes out here, especially a new species for me to tick off. I haven't found one of these guys out in the wild before, so it's absolutely amazing to be able to see them here. Just as a bit of an example of why these snakes aren't fun to deal with. They can be fast and twitchy at times, which is what you can see him doing now, is that defensive posture. He's ready to lunge out and start diving towards us. Not a fun animal when they don't want to be. Unfortunately, we ended up also getting a hit Murray Darling carpet python, which was the main target for tonight, but I won't be showing that on screen. After that Deviz, we didn't get any more reptiles, so we ended up calling it quits. So we're just woken up, second day out here in the Brigalow. We're going to keep going. We're going to try and breach a bit further into the Brigalow. Ignore the noise in the background, my mates are just yelling. So last night we did end up getting some success, couple of snakes, couple of dead ones unfortunately. So we did end up seeing an alive mud adder or Deviz bandits. So we got really lucky with that. I hadn't seen one before. Brand new species. Made me very excited. Other than that, we got a bandy Vermicellia annulata, very, very small specimen. And then other than that, really unfortunately, which was the main target for the night, was a Murray Darling carpet python, which we did end up getting one, but unfortunately it was freshly hit. So it was dead on road, which was quite a bummer to see, and it was quite painful to actually see because we were really excited to see one, so that hurt us quite a bit. And then we ended up also getting a dead on road grey snake, which are unfortunately an endangered species of snake out here in the Brigalow belt. But today we're going to do some day herping. We're going to head further into the Brigalow, hopefully to breach Queensland and go up there to the northern parts of the Brigalow belt, so we can hopefully track down a Woma python and a mulgus snake if we get lucky, hopefully. We're now on our way to the northern part of the Brigalow belt, so we're going to see what we can get up there, but we end up actually seeing something on the road just in front of us here. Have a go at this little fella. This little eastern beauty. Pagoda barbata, and look at him, he's a huge specimen. He was just sitting in the middle of the road there, so I had to run out and scoop him up because there was a car hammering down near him. Didn't want him to get hit by a car. You'll notice when I first picked him up, he was this gorgeous beige colour, but now he's gone incredibly dark. That's just a sort of defense mechanism, but they also use it to be able to actually heat themselves up a bit better and absorb a bit more sunlight. But this gorgeous eastern beauty was going to sit in the middle of the road, and unfortunately he was going to get hit by a car, but I ran out and scooped him up just in the nick of time. You can see all these lovely keeled scales, and they get their name because when they feel really threatened, first thing he's going to do, he's going to puff out that throat of his, and he's going to make it look like a big beard, make it very dark and make himself look very scary. But it's time for him to go on his way. We've got some more reptiles to see, and we're not even at our next spot yet.
The American River and its trails ran just behind them. A 56-year-old woman.
We're obviously in the far north parts of the Brigalow now. Dylan's over there vlogging himself. So he just filmed one of his little vlog parts for the preparation for tonight.
Tonight we've got a couple of goals in mind, or a couple of target species. Hopefully going to tick off a king brown. Hopefully before it gets dark we're going to see a strap-snouted brown snake, some other sort of monitors. Hopefully if we get lucky, panoptes, sandies, maybe even a tristis before it gets dark. When it gets dark we're looking for our paleheads, our keelbacks. Obviously big ticket one for me, king brown, and then a palehead so that I can tick off all of my hoplo species, which includes your Stevens, your broad-headed snakes and your paleheads, which will be the last one for me. But looks like it's time to go. Truly, I'm out of breath right now. This thing was walking across the road. Just managed to watch it run off into the bush and up to this isolated tree. We've already gotten 2 of these lovely monitors, Uranus Paroptes, the yellow spotted monitor. Luckily this big fella here just ran straight up this tree, so we're able to actually see him. Fairly out of breath, they're pretty fast monitors, but luckily we got to be able to see this guy fairly up close. Hey folks, managed to get this panoptes just cruising across the road. We just got one up a tree, and as we were looking at that one up a tree, Dylan spotted a couple meters in front of us, this guy cruising across the road. So me and Dylan both fanged it after him, managed to get hands on him. Now you can tell from how I look, they're not a very easy chase. I'm covered in charcoal. He decided to try and climb up a charcoal dead tree, so obviously diving after him fairly got dirty. Now, excuse my poor English, got fairly dirty. Now, looking at this thing, the yellow spotted monitor, Uranus panoptes, you can see where they get their name. Have a look at the back of him. All those gorgeous yellow spots going down him. Now, this isn't a fully grown individual. While this is technically an adult, they can get quite a bit bigger than this. Technically, if you look on their records, on average, they're classified as the 3rd largest monitor in Australia, but there have been recorded sightings of ones bigger than your average lace monitor. So they can get fairly large, but this beautiful specimen, one of my first panoptes I've ever seen out in the wild. I'm very glad we'll be able to get hands on him so we can see him up close and personal, but a beautiful, beautiful lizard nonetheless. Now, it was starting to get dark, so we started cruising for a lot more of our nocturnal reptiles. However, I'm not going to be able to fit that all into this video, so you're just going to have to tune in for episode 2.